There's been concerns worldwide that there's going to be a wider Middle East war. You raised an interesting question in your first response that Hezbollah right now does not want a full-out war yet. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to emphasize they don't want the war right now. It doesn't mean they don't want a full regional war against Israel at some point. And the reason why, there's a twofold reason why they don't want the war right now. Lebanon, so Hezbollah, it's ultimately loyal to Iran, but it exists in Lebanon. This is essentially the house in which Hezbollah lives. That house has been on fire for a very long time, proverbially speaking. In October of 2019, almost 5 years ago, Lebanon's economy collapsed. And that economy, it started to bottom out, but it hasn't recovered yet. The Lebanese currency has lost almost 100% of its value. Electricity is in hard demand. Infrastructure is bad, right? The country is not, Lebanon is effectively a failed state. Compound that with the fact that Lebanon has also been in a state of political stagnation for almost 2 years. There's been a political vacancy, a presidential vacancy rather, for almost 2 years. And without a president, who's really a figurehead, but he starts the political process in Lebanon. Nothing can move forward. Meanwhile, Lebanon's former benefactors, both in the West and in the Gulf, have cut off Lebanon from any aid until Lebanon enacts genuine political and economic reforms. These will not be forthcoming because the people that would have to reform the system would essentially be putting themselves in jail. So Hezbollah has wanted to navigate this collapse, of which it takes partially responsibility for where Lebanon is today, without compounding it with a security conflagration with Israel. They've been very hesitant about attacking the Israelis over the past 5 years. They've tried to thread that needle very carefully, and they don't want to be perceived as the ones that really pushed Lebanon over the edge. As much as the average Lebanese may care about Palestine, it's still a cause that's foreign to Lebanon. So that's the one angle. The other angle is that the attack against Israel, this promised regional war, is not going to be Hezbollah alone. It's going to be Hezbollah with the rest of the resistance axis. So this is an Iranian-led regional alliance of organizations like Hezbollah, like Hamas, the Houthis, the Iraqi Shia militias. They intend to attack Israel all at once, except on the one hand, their domestic conditions are akin to Lebanon's in a lot of ways, and their capabilities. These organizations, as much as they love to engage in bellicose rhetoric, Nasrallah the other day just admitted Israel's conventional military superiority over them. They want to bridge that gap as much as possible to maximize the chances of success. The cherry on top, if you will, is that they want Iran to have a nuclear capability, not so Iran can strike Israel with a nuclear weapon necessarily, but so that it can at least provide a nuclear umbrella for the ring of fire that these organizations are building around Israel. So those two parts have to be complete. If they go to a regional war now, if the resistance axis goes to a regional war now, that project that they're working on, that preparation that they're working on could be set back indefinitely, and they're not going to risk that.
Your wording here is extremely important. You're saying it's not that they don't want a war at all, they just don't want a war right now. So is there any indication of when that timing would be for a potential all-out Middle East war?
No, I don't think this is something that we can necessarily put a timeline on. All we can say is that it will be very destructive. These organizations are not static. If we look at, the Hezbollah timeline, just Israel vis-a-vis Hezbollah, the Israelis withdrew from South Lebanon on May 25th of 2000 on the assumption that this would deprive Hezbollah of any excuse to continue attacking Israel. I think this was underpinned by a severe misunderstanding of the organization and its capabilities by then Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who has still not taken accountability for this mistake that he made. And what Hezbollah was then was a relatively small, powerless organization. Yes, they were able to hurt, but compared to Hezbollah of today, they were nothing. Then you fast forward 6 years to the Second Lebanon War, Hezbollah had grown relative to 2000 exponentially. Now from 2006 till today, it's about 18 years if my math serves me. It's a lifetime. In that time, they have built up their arsenal much larger. In the Second Lebanon War, they had a total of 14,000 projectiles. Now they have something like 200,000 projectiles and assortment projectiles, including long-range missiles, drones, loitering munitions, anti-tank guided missiles. Their arsenal is not just quantitatively larger, it is qualitatively more advanced. Beyond that, they've had much military experience in the intervening years, especially the war in Syria. So they've learned how to control territory, how to fight as a conventional army as well. Now, this doesn't bridge the gap between them and the Israelis. All it's to say is that they are a much more powerful organization they are today than they were a few years ago. Fast forward 10 years, 20 years, that pattern will repeat itself. So when that war does happen, and I can assure you that it will be the resistance axis that initiates it, and we can talk about why they will be the ones to initiate it rather than the Israelis. The war, when it happens, is going to be much more destructive than it would be if it happened today, as destructive as it would be today.